Welcome to 2018, the first of many forthcoming meetings of your Danville City Commission this evening. It is January the 8th. The hour is 5:32. Rumor has it that there's a football game later on tonight, so there may be some brevity involved here. I believe we have a quorum minus Commissioner Cottle, who's under the weather. And with any further ado, I would ask Commissioner Atkins, if you would, lead us in a moment, please.
Okay. Let's lift up a word to God. God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. We thank you for allowing us to see 2018. We thank you for those who are present in this building tonight and this evening, and we pray that the work that we do tonight will be pleasing in thy sight. These and all of the blessings we ask in his name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. We have the privilege tonight of being led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Sam Clark, who is a senior with the Boyle County football team. Mr. Clark, come right up here. The floor is yours, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. We have a little gift for you. We got any of the others? We'll give him a special. There you go. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Clark. Nice to hear a young man come up and put it out there forcefully. Well done.
Amen.
Commissioner, you have in front of you tonight's agenda. I trust it meets your approval.
Yes.
We'll move right on. We're in the section we call Hear the Public. This is the public's opportunity to address the commission about any topic that is on tonight's agenda. We will have an opportunity later on in tonight's meeting where we'll hear the public on any item that's not on tonight's agenda. So with that, is there anyone that would like to say anything with regards to an item on the agenda tonight? Seeing none, we'll move right on into the approval of the minutes of the previous two meetings, being December the 11th and the special called meeting of the 15th. Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the minutes of 12/11/17 and 12/15/17.
Thank you. Commissioner Atkins, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Discussion? Seeing none, Chair call the question. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item number 2 is one of those fine privileges that we have from time to time, and I'm going to defer to my fellow commissioner who has requested that she be the one to deliver the proclamation to the championship Boyle County football team.
You want to tell them why she is given the privilege?
You go right ahead, sir.
Oh, you're going to tell him? You want me to?
Oh, I'll tell them why you.
Oh, I'm a proud rebel for life.
Oh, okay. There you go. She's a 1979 graduate of Boyle County High School.
I don't think so. Well, I was going to tell a little story that is going to tell my age a little bit, but I'm not that old. If you'll indulge me for a moment, I was a junior in high school when Coach Smith came to Boyle County the first time, circa 1992, I believe. And our football teams had probably gone 1-9, 0-10. You know, it was not good. I also had the opportunity to be a student athletic trainer my junior and senior years. And I got to spend time with Coach Smith's program and the guys and the coaches. And, you know, first of all, we were just so excited to have him. And he took those boys that had not won games and made them into champions. And we went to districts and regionals those 2 years for the first time, I think, maybe ever. if not for, at least a long time. So Coach Smith conducts himself on and off the field in a very humble manner, and he has high standards, but he also applies those standards to himself.
Hey, wait.
And what?
Are you finished?
I'm finished.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell us that you survived those 2 years with Coach
I
Smith.
did survive. Hey, I spent 2 football camps at Jabez.
There you go.
It is
Look,
not
look
fun.
at it.
Let me tell you, Jabez is in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
We had to come up with some interesting ways to tape ankles and take care of those injuries. But it was Coach Smith took those kids and made them into champions and has continued to do that. And, for me to be able to watch that over the years, and I've watched these young men play basically since they were little, because my daughter's a senior also, and my nephew played football until last year. So anyway, it's just a very neat opportunity for me to be able to do this with you guys also. So this is the proclamation for the Boyle County Rebels football 2017 KHSAA Class 3A state champions. Whereas the Boyle County High School Rebel football team had an outstanding year representing Boyle County High School and the community, the City Commission would like to congratulate them on their outstanding accomplishments in 2017. And whereas the Boyle County Rebels ended the regular season 9-1, won the Class 3A national or regional championship, and then went on to play the KHSAA State 3A football championship game on Friday, December the 1st. And whereas the Boyle County Rebels finished their season 14-1 by winning the KHSAA Class 3A state championship, the City Commission would like to congratulate the team and coaches on their outstanding year and representation of Danville Boyle County. And whereas the Boyle County Rebel football team players are outstanding role models to the youth of Danville and Boyle County. All of the members are applauded for their exemplary attitude and contributions both on and off the field. Whereas the Boyle County High School football team members and coaches are shining examples of focus and dedication to be the best they can be as a team, coming together to accomplish great things, they are to be commended. Now, therefore, Mayor G. Michael Parris and the City Commissioners of the City of Danville on this 8th day of January 2018 do hereby congratulate the 2017 KJSAA Class 3A State Championship Boyle County Rebel football team and encourage the citizens of Danville to congratulate them on their success and representation of Danville, Kentucky.
Yeah. Coach, get your men up here. You got to line up around there. No, it's not a firing squad. It's all good. It's all good. I want to thank you, sir, and let you get in the middle, and we're going to get a picture with that in your hand, sir. Y'all look happy for a change. And one of the neat things that I experienced, and I've said it before, and it was the night we had our little rally, and the way you guys conducted yourselves, and the friendly camaraderie and friendly competition, that was just very, very nice. And I thought that evening was well done, and I appreciate you all being there, and I appreciate the way you conducted yourself, and I know that Coach Smith wouldn't have it any other way. So a small token of our appreciation is this little pin that represents the key to the city. You put it where, right there. Huh? Thank you. And one of you's going on to Purdue, right? Yes, sir. Tell us more.
You want to give him a microphone? Here, Mayor. I think it's on.
Let's see what you got.
You want to just talk about Purdue and all?
Talk about what you anticipate. And
All right. Well, I took my official this past month in December for the weekend, which was pretty cool to share some things up and see how life is, not just as a football player there. Got to see the dorms and everything outside of football as well. And y'all might not know, but they just got like, I'd say it's about $70 million athletic facility just added on. So that's top notch and best in the country. And so I look forward to working in that every day up there. And they just won a bowl game too. They beat Arizona, finished 7-6. So future's looking bright. And we had a good recruiting class. So future's looking bright for the Boilermakers.
Tell me your major.
Marketing, business, something like that. So.
Have you looked at the weather map? You know where Purdue is?
I was looking the other day, it was about -12.
I mean, you got LSU, you got Florida, Alabama, you know, all these.
Yeah, I'm used to it a little bit. We've been getting this cold down here in the winter, but it's a little worse up there, but I think I'll be able to get used to it.
Excellent.
Got an indoor facility too, don't you?
Exactly.
Coach, take the microphone and whatever you want to say.
Well, first of all, thank you all very much for doing this for us. And Denise, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that, and hope you still don't have nightmares about Jabez. I know these guys do. They wouldn't go back for nothing. But anyway, we just really do appreciate it. These guys are really proud of them. They just did a wonderful job. And I tell everybody that wants to listen, really, in my mind, the biggest reason why we were able to win a state championship this year was because of the leadership that these guys provided. There's no doubt in my mind. You know, I know we had some talent here or there, but we would not have won it without the leadership that these guys provided. They're class young men, come from good families, and they do things right, and very proud of them. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Go on.
We got a couple that are going to the next level.
Well, pass it
Let
on.
them introduce themselves.
So, my name is Caden Garasio, and I committed to Center to play football there.
Yeah, good.
I kind of like that because I can play football and I can get a great education that'll help me excel in life. I recently went on my official overnight this past weekend, and it was awesome because I got to hang out with the guys, learn my new teammates, and they had me help recruit other recruits that I thought would help out the team since I was basically already committed on it. So it was an interesting experience to see the players in different aspects, not just in the recruiting, but in a way of life of how they live down there. So it's pretty nice.
Great.
You're going? Not for football, but I'm Mitchell Paycheck. I've committed to Georgetown College, but not for football. I've
That's right.
committed for track and field, but who knows? I might end up playing football too. That's an option also. But yeah, I've already went on a visit there and everything, and you know, I've seen the campus, seen what it's like to be a student, seen the dorms, and you know, I'm gonna be honest. When I went there, I didn't want to like it, but I ended up walking away, you know. And as soon as I you know left there, I knew that's where I wanted to go. So
Good deal.
thank you all for listening to us.
Good deal. Anybody else have? It's all right.
Just introduce yourself. Maybe
Yeah, I'm Sam Clark, formerly number 71. I'd just like to thank you all for having us and recognize us and giving us keys to the city.
Excellent. Well, again, Coach, we understand that. Oh, go ahead, young man. No, are you kidding? That's right.
I'm Luke Gibson. Just like to say thank you for everything that you all have allowed us to do. Thank you for honoring us, and thank you for the key.
You're welcome.
Hi, my name's Hayden Shepard. I played corner and wide receiver this year, and it was just a great experience, you know, playing on Kroger Field, you know, being with these guys pretty much 7 days a week since June, and it was a really great experience, you know, coming up here, you know, getting shown to the whole city, and it's just been a great time playing for this team this year.
Hi, I'm Sam Tiller. I'm number 13. I play tight end. I really love that position. It's pretty cool. And you probably know me as a pitcher. It's probably what I'm going to do in college is pitch on a baseball team. So I'm just kind of weighing out my options right now.
Good for you.
We know him as Miss Tiller's son.
Coach, again, thank you very much. These young men are a reflection of you. Yeah, that starts with good parents, but the coach is the one that sets the tone, and appreciate that very much. And I'm still in awe that 2 school systems, 2.5, 3 miles apart, can still win their classes, and we all should celebrate in that, absolutely.
Well, thank you all very much. We appreciate it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, cake and eat it up, please, because the rest of us don't need it. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you all.
Yes, sir. Sam, good to see you, bud.
Thank
Great
you,
job.
guys.
Great job.
Good to see you, Coach.
Nice handshake.
See you. Good to see
Hey,
you.
good luck at Georgetown.
You know that's Jennifer's son.
Yeah. Hey,
Oh, yeah? All right.
Yeah.
Hey, best to you.
Thank you.
All right. You can be a Boilermaker, but don't drink a Boilermaker. You got it? See you on the mound. All right.
He moved over tonight. And just for the record, their only loss was to Danville football team.
I wasn't going to say that.
I'd like to make a quick comment, Mayor, and I think we have a proud mother that's with us just about every meeting, so in the spirit of her job as interpreter, congratulations.
There you go. Well, that's fun. A proud moment. Item 3, we have with us Mr. Jack Coleman to discuss the Bluegrass Community Action Report. Jack, welcome. Glad to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. As the mayor said, my name is Jack Coleman, and I'm the
I may have turned that
Director of Marketing for Bluegrass Community
No.
Action Partnership. And we were asked to come here tonight to talk a little bit about the funding, but as my job is outreach, we want to talk a little bit about Bluegrass Community Action as a whole, kind of where we came from, who we are, and get specifically in what the services that we have here in Boyle County and Danville. So how we started was the Economic Opportunity Act in 1964, when President Johnson declared war on poverty. We've been around a long time. In fact, community action agencies are all over the United States. About 95% of all the counties in every state are covered by a community action agency. So you get a little bit closer to the state level, and we have Community Action Kentucky, 501c3. We have 23 community action agencies across Kentucky, and they cover all 120 counties. I'm kind of a visual person, so this is kind of what it looks like, kind of like a bluegrass ad kind of thing, but you'll see Bluegrass Community Action Partnership right dead in the middle. So then we have Bluegrass Community Action Partnership, and we serve 9 counties. We actually came into being in 1965. So we've been fighting poverty in Kentucky, and especially in these areas, for over 50 years. We became a 501c3 in 1966. Actually began as a Head Start in Anderson County, and then quickly expanded into Bluegrass Community Action Partnership. And we are now currently on 111 Professional Court in Frankfort. So when we talk about poverty over the years, this is kind of what we've been dealing with. We know one thing that's remained constant through all this up and down is that our funding has been underfunded, defunded. We're always being asked to do more with less. This is what we're talking about here as far as the population in Boyle County, Danville area, 30,000, 18% elderly, 5,500 below poverty, 16.1. These are fairly new numbers. Our boots on the ground for Bluegrass Community Action, our community action developer is Donna Linton, and then we have 55 Alive, the senior center here in Boyle County and Danville. As far as services that we provide, all counties don't have the same services, but here's some numbers we wanted to come up with tonight to talk a little bit about what we provide here in Danville and Boyle County. Boyle County 55 Alive is a provider of Title III healthcare services. We currently have about 138 clients. The home care have about 50 clients with about 11,000 units. It's about 30-minute time frames. The Senior Companion Program, 18 volunteers serve 23 clients. And that's a really important program because we have the seniors that need to have a volunteer could come and kind of stay with them, keeps them in their homes, kind of like a daycare kind of thing or adult day. But also the 23 clients are low-income people, and they get a stipend for doing that as well. So it's kind of a win-win situation. The other nutrition programs at the 55 Alive Center, we serve about 3,080 served meals, about 10,616 delivered meals. Home care delivered meals is about 5,600. And the nutrition education Title III is about 77 people. So we serve quite a few meals. The senior citizens bus that you'll see in town, aside from the other bus, we have about 41 clients. We do about 2,993 trips a year. Now, to put a dollar figure to the aging program, it's about 600,000 plus from a dollar figure. The next we have is Head Start. We have about 20 students and families. The Head Start was combined several years ago, so they're actually in bulk in Mercer County. And the price tag on that is somewhere around $200,000 plus. Excuse me, I'm trying to get through this because we got a football game, I was told. As far as the community development office here in town, that's over there in behind the cross maybe from McDowell, have self-sufficiency programs, education programs. I want to talk a little bit more about LIHEAP in a minute. It just began the crisis situation. We have winter care program, had 38 clients with about $5,770. That's usually intercounty RECC and gas, aside from LIHEAP. Weatherization, we come in, we have clients, we can actually weatherize their homes. But what we've been finding in the last several years is the homes actually need some updating and upkeep to get to where we can actually weatherize them. So we're trying to work with churches and mission teams to try to get some of these homes up to speed. Self-sufficiency, the food pantry referral services. EFSP, Danville Bull County is a state set-aside. We get $4,800 in the community. Bluegrass Community Action Partnership gets some money for utilities. Salvation Army gets some of that money for rent. And then the school got some of that for the backpack program. So we try to pass that around. So you're talking about, in non-LIHEAP, probably about $11,000, $12,000 worth of services. The big deal is the Bluegrass Ultra Transit. And these are the buses you see every day, everywhere. This is also aside from the senior citizens. These are extra trips. We do basically 39,000 trips a year, and the total cost on that's about $1.2 million. So all in all, you're looking at somewhere as far as services provided, the values in Bull County is in excess of $2 million a year. But we don't do it on our own. We've been doing this over 50 years. There's about 5 pages of community partners. So we partner with everybody. We refer out. They refer to us. And as you can tell, the list, this is probably the largest list that we have of all 9 counties. So that when we have funds available, everybody can refer to us. If we run out of funds and they need food, we can refer them to the food pantry. It's all about communications and working together in the community. The next part about the presentation is about Roma goals. Bluegrass Community Action Partnership is measured and funded by bringing families out of poverty. We don't give checks, we don't give out money, we don't write checks, but we're measured by trying to do that. So when we get referrals, refer in, we try to bring people in and get them placed in these Roma goals. What is it that's causing families to stay in poverty? It's kind of like peeling an onion. Is it second shift child care? Is the vehicle down? Do you need GED? Do you need a college course? You know, what is it that keeps people in poverty? So that's how we are measured and it's how we're funded. And you can see we've got almost 1,600 people that come through our office every year. We talked a little bit about all the programs that we have. This is probably one of the biggest programs. This is LIHEAP, low-income housing, heating assistance. And if you notice, subsidy goes from November the 6th through December 15th, and then crisis just started today. It'll run through March. So in Bull County, I'm sorry, I got a frog in my throat. In electric, if you look at, again, subsidies in green and crisis is in red, We serve about 614 people for $95,000 in electric. Kerosene, you can see $4,000. Natural gas, 134 people. Propane, we've even got wood that we provide for some families in the county. So total, in Boyle County, we served 881 people last year, and we expended about $133,282. Again, these are vouchers. This money does not go to any family. It goes to the utility company, and they have to qualify to be in these programs. It's not just you walk in. The one thing that we want to talk a little bit about, and we want to thank you all for your funding, we want to talk a little bit about the funding levels. Let me get to my paper. Our money that we have, which is LIHEAP, weatherization, all that we talked about, bus, are in silos. That's the way we try to explain it. And when we get, a silo gets empty, we can't fill it with money from another silo. So it's important that when we get these programs, that we're looking for, unrestricted funds. We want to thank the city. We got money last year from the city. With the funds that we received, we were able to serve 19 customers, clients with utility assistance. And that was money that they might not have qualified for LIHEAP, but they were really close, or somebody might have referred somebody to us, and we just happened to have some money around, because a lot of times our silos are empty and we have to start referring out. We tell all of our partners during LIHEAP, if anybody needs utility assistance, get them to us first. Say, hold on to your money until the end of LIHEAP, and then we try to spread all this around the best we can. Our mission statement, and this is pretty important. The agency's dedicated resources to enable low-income, disadvantaged, and disabled families, individuals of all ages, ethnic backgrounds, to attain skills and knowledge and motivation to become fully self-sufficient. We are wanting to get people out of poverty to become self-sufficient. And you do that by we readily admit that there are circuit riders that go around. And we tell the churches, or we tell anyone, if you are not really sure if somebody needs a utility bill paid and you've got $212, if you will refer them to our office, and we can intake them because we're tied to the cabinet, and then if they come back with a letter, a recommendation, you can pay their utility bills. We could possibly find out that they had a LIHEAP check last week. So it's all about the credibility of the program, the accountability of our clients, and that's when you start moving families out of poverty instead of holding them into poverty. The one thing, the commitment that we have is that 100% of all the funds that are donated to our office go directly to benefit the people in Danville and Boyle County clients. 100%. We take no administrative charges off of that. We're constantly striving to maintain the highest level of credibility of our programs and accountability of our clients. We have a Castanet program, a computer program, and if a client in Boyle County was to go to Mercer County and try to get something, they're tied together and it comes up as a duplication. So we're constantly, all 9 counties, even in Anderson County, they might try to come from Washington County, where there's a Bluegrass Community Action Agency in Washington County, so none of that can hopefully go on. Constantly promote strategies to fight poverty, promote self-sufficiency of individuals, families, and communities. I talked to Tony earlier. I can tell you that the strategies that we're using in 2017 and going to be in 2018 were not the strategies we were using 3 and 4 and 5 years ago. With the proliferation of drugs and addictions, we're seeing all kinds of unusual things, and we're trying to, again, we've got to come up with strategies. Well, the leading growth of homelessness is children, and they call them couch surfers. And so when these children show up, we have to figure out a way to help them as well, and they're pretty much in the schools. And we have a lot of schools that were in partners. And we continually seek out partnerships with community-based organizations to advocate on behalf of the poor. You saw 5 pages of partners that we are constantly communicating with. It's all about communications and sharing, and we think we do a really good job. And the people, Salvation Army, the people in Boyle County, it's just a constant list of communications back and forth. And then we could continually try to mobilize both public and private resources to be able to provide services to meet basic human needs of our clients. And we thank you all for your help from last year. I wanted you to kind of get a broad picture of who we actually are in the community, because we kind of get focused on utilities, we get focused on a couple of different things. There's a lot of moving parts to the Bluegrass Community Action Partnership in the community and also in all of the community. If anybody has any questions, I would be more happy to answer.
Any questions for Mr. Coleman?
I don't think so.
I have a couple of questions. If an individual wants to contribute financially, how do they do that?
You can go to get with the community office here, and what happens is, because I was director of community-based services, any of the local funds that come from you all or from anybody in Boyle County, Castanet has a Boyle County local funds, and it's all distributed in Castanet. And then our community developer in Boyle County has access to all the funds in Boyle County or Danville.
About a month ago, this commission and staff sat through an afternoon session with Amy Longwell on Bridges program that United Way does called Bridges Out of Poverty. At some point, we don't want to do that just tonight, but would like to know more at some point as to is Bluegrass Community Action Agency dovetailing with them on that program, or are there some differences? Because this commission, we're trying to figure out how do we take what we learned and use that, put something into motion. It may already be that you've already got our answer. I don't know.
Well, I took that program, and we are big partners with the United Way, and we are kind of fighting the same battles. The EFSP funds are from the United Way, the National United Way group, and they chair some of the committees and we chair some of them. And so we're constantly trying to develop strategies going forward and try to share information and knowledge. We're kind of we're in all 9 counties. Boyle County is a pretty important county, Mercer, Lincoln, so, and they're there too, so.
Okay.
We try not to duplicate, but we try just to help enhance each other with our funds and try to spread around as much as we can.
Any other questions?
I'll just comment. I think you brought up a good point because we've talked about it before. There's a lot of groups that are doing great work and some parallel groups, and so we always like to know if you're working together. Helping Hands comes to mind as well, because you're putting some people up that need help with electric and so forth, and they sort of play in that way too. So do you coordinate any efforts with them?
Yes, and we're reaching out now to the ministerial associations and all the communities. We're starting to meet with them. They have the same goals too. So it's just about communications and collaborations, because we need to make these funds go as far as we can. And the funds like that you all give us or donate to give us, if somebody wants to come in and because they couldn't get a service someplace else and we don't have any money, we could use that to help them. So it's constantly trying to, again, we got to talk about the credibility of programs and accountability. Those are key too.
I know you've had another meeting tonight, so I don't want to hold you up, but somehow at some point we may want to circle back and all get in a room with Amy and you and some others, and of course it'll be a public meeting, to try to address how do we break this cycle of poverty, besides just meeting basic needs.
Correct.
So we'll do that sometime in the near future.
A lot of it's education too.
Yeah.
And we're working, trying to get some college courses or, GEDs are fairly easy now. But the other issue, I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but getting jobs. We've got some addiction issues, and Tony could probably tell you, getting these people employed is key.
Mr. Coleman, thanks, sir.
Thank you all very much.
Grab some cake on your way out, okay? None of us need it, but we want it.
Good report, though. Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
I don't know if Crystal's here tonight or something. Okay.
She's
so
not going to be.
Item 5 is Resolution 2018-01-08-01. This is the Main Street Letter of Commitment. Mr. Wade, glad to have you with us.
Glad to be here. So this has become an annual thing as part of our recertification process to become a nationally accredited Main Street community. We have to have the letter signed by the mayor saying that the city commits to support the work that we do downtown. And I hope you have a copy of the letter. It's kind of the letter is a gist of the things that we are our criteria when it comes to the recertification process. So we have to meet all of those items on the letter. So.
Thank you, sir. Does anybody have any questions for Nick? Seems to me rather ordinary and routine. Seeing none, do I hear a motion?
I'll move to accept resolution number 2018-01-0801.
We have a motion to accept the first reading from Commissioner Sears. Is there a second?
Second. Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Thank you, Nick.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Item 7 is the code enforcement report as well as the 2017 annual environmental report.
Item 6.
What did we skip?
6.
Ordinance.
Oh, I'm sorry. We did. Get comfortable, Bridget. Sorry. This would be a first reading for ordinance number 1910. This is the Megget Wage Assessment Amendment. Mr. Laster, you want to address that? Sorry, Jody.
Not a problem. It's always good when projected expansions turn out to be larger than originally intended. And this is the case with Megget Aircraft Braking Systems Corporation here in Kentucky and in Danville specifically for an expansion that was approved in 2015 through the local wage assessment component of the state incentive package, as is our practice. The 2015 incentives were for 66 jobs, approximately an investment at that time of $9.3 million. We are adding 28 jobs to that project, which has already been approved by the Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority. So we're basically doing our component at the local level. And so the total jobs will now be 94. We're adding an additional equipment investment in the amount of $5.5 million in change. The total investment will be just over $14.8 million. I think all too often we don't talk enough. We seem to focus more on incentives rather than the investment. And so let me remind you that the local wage assessment is based upon annual payroll, which according to this schematic of 15 years initially will start with a payroll of approximately $2.1 million and grow by year 15 to $4.2 million. The total, Mayor, over that period that we're talking about is $51.2 million in payroll, which obviously will be assessed for payroll taxes for both the city of Danville and for the Boyle County Fiscal Court. So I don't think we emphasize enough the annual payroll on which these quote-unquote incentives are based. And so that is simply what we're doing tonight, some window dressing or housekeeping to make sure that we bring the local incentive ordinances, both at the county and the city, up to par with what the state has already amended. And we thank Stephen Dexter, the city attorney, for his help in formulating this, as well as the city managers.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? This is the kind of info we like. Thank you.
That's right.
That's right.
So I move to approve the first reading of ordinance number 1910.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Any discussion?
Does Donna need to read that?
What's that?
Yes, Donna does.
You want to do that now?
This is the first reading of ordinance 1910, an ordinance amending City of Danville ordinance number 1859 previously enacted in May 2015 pursuant to the Kentucky Business Investment Act, granting Meggitt Aircraft Braking Systems Kentucky Corporation a wage assessment, granting certain employees of company a partial credit against City of Danville occupational license tax, and providing provisions for recapture of these benefits in certain events, which shall be revised to reflect an accurate projection of jobs, being 28 additional, so as to match the incentives approved by the Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority.
Okay, madam?
Commissioner Atkins?
I had a comment.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's just a comment.
Oh, sorry.
Good job. Good job. And I won't make the faux pas I made with your partner, Hal, and say that we want to see more of you. We want to see you more often.
Thank you for that clarification.
Commissioner Atkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Paris?
Yes.
Commissioner Series?
Yes.
Thank you
Jody.
very much.
You know, Meggitt is just one of the jewels in our crown. They really are.
And continuing to grow all the
Yeah, yeah. All right. Now, Ms. Lester.
We will try this again. You have in your packet a copy of our report from December. We had 13 notice of violations. We had 86 parking citations issued. We have collected citations in this month. We collected 2 of those for a total of $200. We've issued 20 business licenses and recovered 17 liens. And I will entertain any questions you might have.
A question. As we look in the back of our report, we see some of the same names in what. At what point do we stop that bleeding, if you will?
As far as the liens go,
Yeah.
well, Stephen could probably address that better than I, but until we either, someone buys the property or is willing to do something there, we're kind of caught.
Counselor, you have a comment?
Well, the point of the lien is to encourage compliance, or the citation, and the other part of it is if we have to sue, it makes it more worth the city's while, because they can accumulate at a rate that's faster than just the abatement cost. So it's on top of that, which means it's more of a sting and more of a receipt for the city when we do have to pursue a litigation route to resolving the matter. So before, when the city was abating the nuisance, we would place a lien on the property for the actual cost of that abatement. In this case, going forward, it's the abatement cost plus a citation that can happen time and time again. So instead of just mowing liens, for instance, or whatever it is, there are citations on top of that. So instead of trying to recover $800-900, it could be double, triple, quadruple that. And the thing is, so if you're going to pursue the litigation matter, you have more skin in the game.
And we have issued a total of 7 citations thus far and collected all of 7 of those to date, so it does help, but.
So, and if I'm chasing my tail, somebody stop me here, but how do we get this list whittled down?
Well, we do get it going down a little bit. We recovered 17 liens in this month for a total of $4,083.40. But we continually send out letters every month. That's why you get your totals change every month. We add interest onto those, and we send those out to every single person on this list, and we try to collect those. But
because I'm looking here and going just one here that goes back to 2012. There may be some that go back even further than that.
We can, yeah.
How long do we go with this?
We can leave them. They have 10 years. We can collect on them for 10 years.
And after that?
The liens are good for 10. Each particular lien can be placed on the property for a period of 10 years. So you would have to initiate a foreclosure process prior to the conclusion of the 10th year.
So if I haven't paid for 10 years, then in year 11, I'm still only in arrears 10 years.
That's correct. The 11th year drops off by virtue of the Kentucky statute of limitations for enforcement.
So I think what
It
your
doesn't
question
relieve
is,
it does not relieve if there's a demolition order or if there's some order to comply. It just relieves the ability to collect on that particular lien.
And the real answer to the mayor's question is it's never going to go away. It's an ongoing battle. And we should compliment code enforcement for the constant pressure that's been placed on our community and for the monthly reports, because these reports are really showing us that they're busy.
Yeah, they
at
are.
the work.
No doubt.
And if it's going to go away, the citizens have to sort of make it go away by complying. And we know the answer to that.
And please don't misunderstand my comments as being
Oh, no, I
negative.
understand perfectly.
I'm just sitting there going,
Yeah.
what other business lets you roll your bill for 5 years, 10 years without doing something?
You're right.
Well, and again, that's just the backdrop. It doesn't mean you have to wait that long.
Well, I would hope not.
So
I guess that's my point.
yeah, I think that was
the
my same
point of the
question.
new process that we had before, we would just file liens for abatement of the nuisance, and that was it. So then we talked about a three-pronged approach, if you remember. We reviewed ad nauseum. So we had municipal order, which is requiring these monthly reports, which is good because it puts it in front of the public and in front of you and actually shows the activity and dispels the myth that code enforcement doesn't, quote unquote, do anything. Second, we created the code enforcement citation ordinance, which gives more teeth to actual enforcement of those ordinances. The process, we bought the software, so they're out there. Anyone can apply to get receipt of those liens that are out there, mortgage companies, banks, or just average citizens. And so there's a marketing aspect to it as well. And it's just getting underway, and I think you're starting to see the fruits of it. I think there have been more collections actually probably in the past year than there have been the previous years combined.
Things have been moving real, and we also put this list on our website as well. So
Does this list go into the paper?
we do not publish it in the paper. The newspaper has access to it, and it's on our website as well. But it's up to you if you want us to expend that money.
Well, I mean, if you don't pay your property taxes, you get listed. Why should we be any different?
Well, I guess you better look at the attorney for the legality of that one, though. I don't know.
Well, there's nothing illegal about it. It's just if you want to pay the advertising cost to put it in the newspaper.
Do us a favor, Bridget, just investigate that and come back to us with pros and cons.
Okay, I'll do that.
So I think your question is the same as mine. Do we have to wait 10 years before we can do anything about?
No, I think that Stephen would say no, but there's a cost to that, depending on how much these liens are, as to Stephen's fees and other fees involved in that.
If you have $400 in fees or citations, is it worth filing a lawsuit where you have a $175 filing fee, plus you're going to have the preparation, you're going to have to research the title, you're going to have to file the complaint, you're going to have to serve all the parties at $50 or more a pop, and to get everybody properly before the court? Is it worth having several $1,000s in cost and fees to recoup a $400 lien? You wouldn't do that in business, so the city shouldn't do that.
Well,
There's a
sitting here-
tipping point, certainly when the lien gets to a certain place, but it takes time.
And I understand your point, but I'm looking at one name right here that I guarantee you, just eyeballing it, there's probably close to $20,000.
Well, there's already one on here for 9,000 plus all the others.
But that's part of that same name,
Right,
and I mean,
uh-huh.
so, I mean, I think we ought to look at that.
And part of the reason to have these reports in front of you is for that very reason, because it's the commission vested with the interest to authorize litigation. So should you see something like that, it can be discussed, and you can vote to proceed accordingly. And we're happy to comply.
Sounds like it's time to start looking at, some of these are getting high, and then, and look at our legal fees and then make a decision.
Can we set a dollar amount? If it gets to a certain dollar amount, and that's when we
You
start
can,
proceedings?
but the other thing is, I'm not one for setting a limit like that, because there could be extenuating circumstances. You may want to do it sooner than that. And also, if you set, whatever you set the limit at, there could be habitual offenders that will keep that number
Just
in
under that.
pocket, so they know how to play the system. I mean, why give a system to be played is my point. Just, you can litigate on any lane and just keep it that, and then you make the decision as you deem fit to do.
More discussion to come.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Also behind there, you have an environmental report for 2017, which gives you totals of different things that we dealt with over that time period.
Yep.
And did you want to say anything more than that, Ron? Okay. So if you have any questions about those, but you can see down there towards the bottom where we've issued the 7 code citations and the other totals as well.
Well, this is excellent work. Contrast this to 2 years ago, this is excellent.
It's good
Give
work,
credit
and
to-
it's always an education, so educate me a little bit, Bridget, and this is way off, this is way small. But you had 7 illegal signs removed. Can you give me some examples of what illegal signs are, just out of curiosity?
It could be anything. It could be in the right of way. You know, it could be something that the codes officers see that's blocking traffic, or just that they know it's in violation of some ordinance and they would pick it up. More of those are picked up by the planning and zoning codes officer a lot of times, but we will do it if we see something that's in violation.
So something like somebody didn't pick up their yard sign and they just left it out there, or that kind
Could
of
be.
stuff, or?
Could be.
Okay.
Anything else?
I am next up. Oh, sorry.
Continue on.
We have a resolution for 2 amended scopes for our current certified local government grants. Not any change in the money, but we need to change the scope, which means we need a signature again. The first grant is the one that we're using for our online data portal for our survey records. And we're gonna need to break that up into phase 1 and phase 2. So you'll hear about this phase 2 when we turn in our new grant agreement for your approval in February. The total on that one is $11,166.67. Nothing changes. The second one is for the National Register nomination for the Old Wilderness Road, and we just extended the deadline on that, so we needed to get approval. I'll answer any questions you might have.
Do I hear a motion from the commission?
I'd like to move we approve resolution 2018-010802 as submitted.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Sears. Any discussion?
Again, I think it's good work, great work, and the
Yep.
fact that we're moving forward.
Thank you, Bridget. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Mr. Scott, the floor is yours for your report, please.
Yes, sir. A few items to report. You will recall back in December, we talked about the inception of the National Citizen Survey, where we are doing a web-based survey of our citizens in the city and in the area to seek their opinions with regard to service levels and quality of life issues. We have received 169 responses to that web-based survey. Those responses go directly to the organization conducting those surveys and are not individually viewable by city staff. I make this point tonight because we will wish to, as a city staff, to seek to obtain greater responses from our citizens and area residents, and we'll be making efforts in the next few weeks to up that response rate. But that's a good beginning, and we look forward to the completion of that survey probably on or about January 31st, or certainly into early February, because we want to use the results of that survey to consider as we get into our budget process coming forward. We will have at least one public hearing of our citizens on their ideas or thoughts about budgetary issues, but this will be sort of the backdrop to that, and we'd like to have that information in before we get too deeply into the budget preparation process. So that's the first item, which I would say is a success as we begin that survey. The second, we talked about our water meter replacement project, and we were having a trial run in December, and despite the cold weather, we did complete that trial run. We had a few challenges along the way, but we're now ready to move into the initial phase of replacement of water meters, and that's going to begin this week as we enter into warmer, above 30-degree weather, and that will continue for quite a period of time in 2018, but we're moving ahead with that project and just wanted to report that to you as well. We have a number of issues as we begin the very busy new year of 2018. Continuing on some projects that we have carried forward from 2017. One of those is our wayfinding project for developing better wayfinding signage for our community. Our next meeting for that consultant to report to us will be a meeting on January the 16th here at the City Commission chambers at 6 p.m. And so please mark that, and if you have the interest and ability to attend as citizens or elected officials, this might be a good time to hear that project status report as it is progressing. The other project that has been ongoing for some time has been our Brandstetter Carroll Master Park Planning Project. There was an extensive effort made to receive public input regarding what we're now providing or doing and what the public perception might be in terms of enhancing that to meet our needs. They are still compiling the results of that rather extensive survey input from citizens, but we do anticipate having a meeting before the end of January at the staff level at least, and maybe involving some sort of advisory committee that would come from those that have already participated in interview sessions with Brandstetter Carroll to then review the results that we've got thus far. And so we anticipate that occurring before January the 31st. On other matters, I distributed in your packet a suggested meeting agenda for the City Commission that would consist of not only our regularly scheduled meetings, the second and fourth Mondays of each month, but also what I could envision as the need for special called meetings on a variety of topics, most of those dealing with the budget preparation process as we do every year. And that is outlined in some great detail between this date and June 30th. I would ask that you each look at that suggested meeting schedule and let me know prior to the, I think it's January the 16th maybe was on the memo, so that I can compile and adjust as may be requested and bring back before you at the next meeting the requested or suggested meeting schedule that we attempt to follow as we get into the budget process. We have a lot of work to do ahead on the budget, on other issues. We have our community agency hearing and processes, and it talks about the fact that we will be sending out to all the community agencies or that have received funding currently or that may wish to receive and complete an application. Those are going out in the near future, and so we're trying to outline an efficient program and process as we get into the budget process this next year. We all know that our General Assembly is meeting in Frankfurt, and the struggle that the state is having in terms of meeting revenue and expenditure needs, including pension funding. We have talked, I think, at our retreat held last month, or I guess it was actually late November, about the increased cost to our city, which is roughly in the neighborhood of $700,000, that seemingly as the
Per year.
Annually, correct, and that's before you factor in any sort of salary adjustments or other things. And so we are going to have, I think, a challenge unless we get some additional revenue sources in terms of meeting all the required or desired expenditures in the year ahead. This is going to be probably the tightest budget year that we have had, largely because of that imposition of the $700,000 plus annual pension contribution, and that's the revised downward calculation from what was originally produced by the CERS Board, or the Kentucky Retirement Systems Board. So I make this point simply because we're going to have to look diligently at our priorities, our expenditures, and what we really see as the compelling needs of the community. And I think it's also going to mean that we're going to have to be more proactive in this community and in other communities around Kentucky in terms of trying to seek some additional revenue source to meet the demands or the unfunded mandates that are being placed upon us.
So those things that we were hoping to do, and the reason that we took the step to pass a tax increase last year, those things now go away.
Well, we can fund and hopefully continue to fund some of those funds. One of those, as you might recall, was the desire to more adequately staff our 911 center. And we were talking last year, that was a recommendation from the city manager to the commission that we do, and because of revenue concerns, we said, let's hold off on full implementation of that until the next fiscal year. You know, the struggle is still here in terms of adding, between the pension contribution and the staffing and startup contribution, you're at $1 million. You know, so some of the challenge remains certainly in terms of what we have to do in this community.
But the bottom line is this proposed pension assessment, because that's what it is, which has been revised downward, basically sets us back to where we were a couple of years ago.
Well, in terms of flexibility of revenue, I would say it does. You know, we certainly have more revenue, and given the good news tonight, we anticipate in having some additional revenue. So we got to work through that. It's not all gloom and doom, but you know, when anybody's handed a $750,000 additional assessment in addition to what we're already paying, it's a sobering thought in terms of how we best deal with that. And you may have read some of the bills introduced already in Frankfurt. Some of those talk about repealing some existing authorities that we have as cities to levy some fees or taxes. And so we're going to have to, I think, make an effective case that for Kentucky to succeed, its communities must succeed. And in order to do that, we've got to operate, as you are often saying, Mike, to promote economic development and have, you know, a real success among our constituents and our residents. So it's the beginning of a busy season. That's all I'll say. And it's going to be busy locally. It's going to be busy in Frankfurt, and we're going to have to really be creative in terms of realistically looking at what our opportunities realistically are to meet requests for money and to provide what type of services and at what level.
Now you've given us this calendar. Can we do just like the county, you know, have about 3 meetings, you say here's the budget and we vote on it?
I don't think you would do that.
And
I don't think any commissioner would do that.
And they get compensated more than we do.
And I don't think the citizens of Danville, who are used to, and very appropriately so, being proactively involved in discussions about what they want and need and are willing to pay for, would like that either. So we're going to have a community conversation in some depth, and that's one of the reasons that we're trying to start this survey of the National Citizen Survey in terms of how are we doing now, what's our quality of life, what do you think, and that as a backdrop and as a beginning conversation as we go forward. And you all know as well as I that the last time we had that community survey and public hearings, there was a outcry, or really, I won't say it's an outcry, it was a strong request from our community to at last get to building some sidewalks in our community. And we've done a lot of that. We had the school children in here from a Montessori school, you know, talking to the city commission about safety. We've got cutbacks in our road and street funding program, you know, at the state level.
That's
Maybe,
another boondoggle.
you know, maybe the General Assembly will have to raise some state taxes. You know, I think probably that's the case. The gas tax has been increased in surrounding states, and, you know, that might be something they in their wisdom would do. But certainly, when local governments are faced with additional large amounts of money they've got to expend, they're either going to have some additional revenue, or they're going to have to cut back some of what they're already doing. None of us have great reserve funds that we can dip into year after year in these magnitudes. And I think I told you today, Mike, at lunch, I said, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day, nor was the bondage indebtedness paid off in a day. So we're going to have to be realistic in terms of how we address problems that have been developing over decades, and we can't fix something immediately in one time.
Ron, do the county governments get assessed as well?
They do. All participants in the Kentucky retirement system received an assessment.
Okay.
And that, in fact, was less than what the board initially set forth last July in their initial meeting. But I would be surprised if it's further reduced. I think what we got notice of is what we're going to have to live with. So I hope you take this as an encouragement for us all to work together and reach a optimal solution. But that's going to not just be a local solution. It's going to have to involve solution at the state level so that we will have realistic tools to deal with our problem.
Well, I think what I see here is nobody's going to come out happy.
No.
Nobody's going to come out happy here.
No. That's why I chuckled at his word encouragement. I said, I was feeling pretty good sitting up here till he got to the city manager's report. But I do want to go back to stress to the viewers, to the community, about the importance of the web-based survey that you mentioned. You said 169 have been submitted thus far, so we need to hear from a lot of people about what their desires are.
I appreciate your point on that, and we're going to be working to have, the newspaper did a fine story in terms of the original story and announcement of it. Maybe we can get another news story. We can do our web or Facebook or Twitter or other ways of promoting awareness for this, and that's a beginning point as we try to hear from citizens about what they value and indirectly what they're willing to pay for.
And I like your calendar, giving us notice about the suggested additional meetings. You know, that's odd coming from me, but I really appreciate the early notice about the fact that you think there's going to be a need for some of these extra meetings. And so thank you for that.
Put those in your calendar.
I'm not putting my calendar up.
Ron, how many communities, if you know, how many communities issue these type surveys?
Nationally, there are hundreds. In Kentucky, I can't say with accuracy. I'm guessing probably a dozen or less, though.
Okay.
I know Bowling Green does it annually. Other communities may do it. I'm just not sure. There is a web page. You could go to the web page and answer that question because they have a complete listing of all cities that have participated or do participate.
Any further questions or comments for our city manager?
Yeah, I'll probably echo Commissioner Atkins. I appreciate the report and the calendar. Every question I was going to ask you, I've scratched off. You've answered it. Thank you.
Well, thank you. You will note on that calendar that, and you will recall last year on February 2nd, we had a retreat. We had our retreat in November 30th, the 29th or 30th, I guess. And there was a request from you, I think, Commissioner Series, to have another mini retreat so we could follow up on some additional topics. And I believe that also is scheduled tentatively for February 2nd, pending our agreement on that at the next meeting.
Who requested that meeting?
I like to see you guys.
I got it
a lot.
Okay.
Anything else for Ron?
Wow. Good report.
Seeing none, move into the Hear the Public section. This is an opportunity for anyone in the public to speak on any subject that is not on the agenda. Ms. Davis.
Hello, my name is Nancy Davis, and I'm here to ask a question about the lighting down in front of the Tuts restaurant. My sister and I own Serendipity Sisters, and we bought the building there 5 years ago, and the lights have not worked the whole time. The street lights do not work there. I don't even know if the street lights really work in front of City Hall or not. And I thought it was just bulbs that were bad. So I contacted the city, and I was told that I don't think there's even any electric that run to those lights. They have electrical receptacles or something at the foot of the tree, I guess like where you were supposed to maybe plug in Christmas tree lights or something, maybe if there were a tree there, but we don't have a tree either. But anyway, but I don't think an electrician here, a local electrician, told me that some way there was an oversight and they forgot to run the wiring to those lights. So I didn't know if there was something, if the streetscape plan, I'm asking what is the status on the streetscape plan for our block meaning the one that also includes the City Hall here. And I was just wanting to be sure if it's not going to be forthcoming at any point, maybe there's some type of solar light that could be put there or something. It's very dark. It's hard enough competing on this in a town. We don't have a whole lot of businesses that are open at night down here. You know, the Community Arts Center is not usually open. The firemen's are there, but the City Hall is closed. It's very dark there, so it's very hard. My tenant has been complaining to me about, not having any lights, and of course you're not allowed to put lights outside. And so I would just like to ask if the streetscape plan has the repairing those lights in that plan, and if so, when is the streetscape plan? What is the status of the streetscape plan?
The street lights there, the couple of lights that don't work, it's not that they don't have wiring, it's just the conduits that are under the sidewalks and under the streets collapsed, and they're no longer energized, and we don't have a way to pull wire to those lights right there. The streetscape plan has those being replaced, and we are actively trying to get, ironically, the lighting plan is outstanding. The approval of it, we have submitted that, and it's up to the Transportation Cabinet. Since that is a state road, it has to meet their standard, and the consultant has what we think is completed the plan according to their standard, and we're waiting for their approval. We don't have a time frame on that. It took a while on 3rd Street, but hopefully it won't take that long. So I don't have a great update. That was the update that we got before Christmas, a week or so before Christmas, is that the outstanding item to be approved on the plans in front of this building, and which include from 5th Street up to 4th as a matter of detail, is just the lighting plan.
So do you think that, I know you don't have a plan, but do you think it's going to be another year or two, or just in your own gut feeling?
I would shudder to predict. I can't say.
I was just wondering if it's going to be longer than, if there's any way we could get some type of temporary lighting approved there, like something maybe could be some type of solar light bulb. I'm not sure what all's out there, but maybe something could be put into the fixtures.
I know we're hopeful that the approval is soon. There was indicators that it was going to be, maybe we would get approval in October. That didn't happen. And so realistically, it could happen in 2 weeks, but realistically we would say we don't know. And it's up to them. I know the lighting consultant that manufactures the street lights is working with the Transportation Cabinet to try to speed that process up, and I know it doesn't help you and doesn't address it, but it could be imminent. But
is that the same problem with the street lights in front of the City Hall, or do they have the same problem, or do they just not work?
The street lights in front of City Hall, I think, are on, as far as I know. We did have a conduit issue in this property that we've been able to repair non-destructive. We completed non-destructive repair of it, so, but we can't do that repair on that block.
Okay, well, that was,
I'm a little interested, Earl, in the question that she asked. Is it legal or is it possible to do temporary lighting on the street in the interim? I'm thinking about naturally the things she's brought up, security and visibility.
There's other lights down that block that do provide background lighting. Doesn't necessarily accomplish the level of lights or foot candles that she is seeking. And so it's a question of, do you want to invest money in the short term, knowing that eventually you're going to be replacing those? That's a judgment call. We have not pursued that till now.
well, we've been there 5 years and we've had no lights, but I would be willing to look and see what's out there, or maybe if there is something economical, and bring it back to the board to look at it, see if it's something that you can afford or not. I mean, I know there's quite a few new options on the market now with the solar lighting. Every time I turn around, there's some new solar product out there that just come on at night and go off in the daytime, you know. So.
Ms. Davis, yeah, do some investigation. Let's keep the dialogue open. Yeah.
Why not? I have run that block, and it's pretty dark there. It's hard to see the sidewalk, and it's uneven. And it is pretty dark.
Anyone else? Happy New Year, Wilma.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy New Year to you all, too. I'm Wilma Brown. I'm a citizen. In your retreat in the fall, I noticed that you were dismayed about the various citizens that might be complaining about some of your expenditures. So this is one more citizen that perhaps will be complaining. And it was interesting that the city manager talked about the budget tonight, because that's something I wanted to talk about too. And about setting priorities. I think there would not be complaints. Well, there'll always be complaints, but not as many complaints if you were spending money on infrastructure or something like the sidewalks or the lighting. But instead, you have spent, over the last few years, hundreds of thousands of dollars on consultants, including the most recent one, $20,000 for the tax increment financing program, to find out if that would be feasible. That program has been used since 1952, so there are literally volumes of information on that. And we have a city manager form of government, and because of that, some of this is the responsibility of the city manager to look up these things, make recommendations to you, and stand by those decisions. So I do question some of the consultants' fees that have been levied, and especially when you're raising taxes and talking about needing to raise taxes again. Again, I understand that if it's something about infrastructure or some essential service. And then you also talk about lobbying Frankfurt to see if there's some new tax structures that might be put into place. If you were talking about raising the salaries of the firemen and the policemen to competitive levels, that would be, again, something else that I think would be a worthy consideration. But you have just given the city manager a $15,000 raise, which brings his salary to $135,000. I'm not arguing, is it worth it or not? I'm not saying that. But again, you have to set priorities if you're talking about having a very tight budget. And I don't know if you realize this or not, but $15,000, ironically, is the same amount of money that a person working full-time at minimum wage makes in an entire year. So when you do something like raising someone's salary $15,000, if I were a minimum wage worker, I would be complaining about that. If you are raising taxes to provide a much-needed extra canine unit for drug detection, or perhaps just what you were talking about, expanding the 911 center, then that would be a little more feasible. But instead, just recently, you have hired a preservationist part-time. That money was set aside in the budget, $30,000 for a consultant's fee for a preservationist, but now you have decided to make that an employment, put it on employment status. And even though it's part-time, it's still a new position when the people that are already working for the city are probably not making enough money. That preservationist position, and we've talked about this before, has been covered in the past by the Heart of Danville. In fact, since its inception, the Heart of Danville has had as one of its main purposes looking to preservation, historic preservation in town. They decided a year or two ago not to do that any longer. We are still paying the Heart of Danville, and yet we are not getting that service from them, so I would question that too. So I appreciate this opportunity to be able to make these comments, but I do think if you're talking about raising more taxes or levying new taxes, then the priority sometimes that I think maybe sometimes the big picture is not looked at. And, you know, you're thinking $20,000 won't do much in infrastructure, so we'll just hire a consultant. But all of that finally adds up. So that is, oh, and by the way, someone in this room tonight said this to me, and I'm sorry this isn't my line because it's an excellent line, but I'm going to use it anyway. Pretty soon you'll be hiring a consultant to find out if it's feasible to hire another consultant. So I think sometimes that's the way the city is looking at that. So thank you, and Happy New Year.
Anyone else?
Mr. Paris,
Yes, sir.
normally I don't respond to comments from citizens, and they're certainly welcome to make comments. Only in the interest of accuracy will I respond tonight, and that is that the newspaper, in reporting the $15,000 salary to the city manager's compensation, corrected that erroneous story 2 days later after it was run on the first page on that Sunday edition. And the corrected story noted that the city manager's salary was increased this December, effective in January of this year, to be the same rate of increase given to all other employees of July last year. That amounted to about an increase of $4,000 instead of $15,000, and the total compensation was maxed at $130,000. So the upper range was a little less than Ms. Brown mentioned, but in the interest of accuracy, I would note that. With regard to the part-time employment of a preservationist, we just tonight signed the letter of agreement for maintaining our certified city status. That requires us to do certain things, one of which is to have a qualified preservationist. We're meeting that on a shoestring budget with a person who's working less than 20 hours a week, and the total annual money, as Ms. Brown did mention, is capped at $25,000 to meet that requirement. Now, if this commission and this city doesn't want to remain a certified local government, that's another matter. But as the Heart of Danville doesn't meet the qualifications required in its staffing to meet the terms and conditions of that letter of intent that we signed tonight, which said it is a partnership of the city and the Heart of Danville to do these things. If the Heart doesn't, if we're to continue, the city must. And so we've sought the cheapest way and the most effective way of meeting that requirement. So those are the technical matters I would just have considered tonight so that the facts are accurately stated.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move right into commissioner comments. Ms. Terry, ladies first.
Happy New Year. I don't have much to say.
What'd you say?
I said Happy New Year.
Oh, Mike went down.
Mr. Atkins, age by rank. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I wrote down two things. One was just to simply say Happy New Year to the citizens of Danville and thank them for the successful holiday season that we had. I'm from the old school about Balboa County, and I hope citizens did that so that our businesses would have had a prosperous season. But the other thing I want to called to our attention is that April the 3rd, 1968, some of you all probably can remember where you were. And this year marks the 50th year of that. And so I have a personal mission. And the personal mission is just to make sure that it's not a 50-year, trying to be careful about how I say this. We can market things and make them the wrong kind of celebrations. I think this needs to be a celebration of remembrance of a very important man in my lifetime. And so my personal goal is to have as many dialogue sessions as I can discussing with members of the community the life and impact of the late Martin Luther King Jr. So I challenge you to challenge me with your groups that you belong to get me on your agenda to come and talk about Dr. King's legacy. You know, I remember reading the thing a long time ago about 39 years is all that Dr. King lived, and 39 years is not long enough, but 39 years for some is too long. And so I am on a mission to make sure that this community realizes the significance of the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So challenge me to come and talk about the impact of a man that only lived for 39 years.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Saris, yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Saris, your turn.
No fun runs to talk about our festivals at this time, but they're coming. 2018, pretty pleased with the city staff that we have and employees when they're working, what they're doing for us. So I'm kind of excited about this year because I'm also real pleased with new energies in planning and zoning. Develop Danville is coming along good. The CVB, Convention Visitors Bureau, for whoever doesn't know that acronym, and the Heart of Danville. I feel some good energy there, so I'm feeling good about these groups and us working with them. And I'm also kind of excited, with all due respect to Paula Fowler, that she had to move on. I'm excited to see what's going to happen with the Chamber of Commerce in terms of the new face there, and we're glad to have Myrna in that position right now. So I'm just saying I'm excited about 2018.
2018, already looking at the schedule, it's a bit daunting, and I'm going to ask the commission to make it even more daunting. There's three entities that I think we as a city have not interfaced with enough, and I think it's put us at a bit of a disadvantage. One was two of them already been mentioned tonight. One is the Department of Transportation. Honestly, I think we need to, about every other month, go pay a visit in Lexington to just talk to our fine folks at the DOT and let them know of some of our constraints and some of our concerns and some of our needs and some of our sense of urgency. The second one that's been mentioned tonight is Frankfort. Counties and county judge executives have done an excellent job for decades of being well known in Frankfort. Mayors and commissioners, not so much. And this being a year of significant change and transition, I think we need to be prepared and fairly early on here to take some time out of our days and make those trips. And lastly is a group that I have not interfaced with at all and need to. Now Commissioner Cottle has, and in my absence, and that's been Bluegrass Ad. There are some services that Bluegrass Ad can provide to us, and do so quite economically. I am not prepared at all to say what they are, but I know other communities are using them and using them effectively, and they get paid to provide these services. And so I think we ought to look at their menu and see what we can See what we can use there.
I
That's it.
might would add the county to that list.
Meaning,
Fiscal court, yeah.
meaning,
Meaning, while our communication with them has improved,
oh, I
I
got you.
think,
Yeah.
if we bring a united front to these three entities, it's power in numbers.
Mhm. That's the end of my comments. Seeing there's no more, we'll move right on to item 10.
Before you
Yes,
move,
sir. Yes, sir.
I would, just not being prepared for your presentation about more meetings.
Not that we want more meetings.
I
but-
don't have a heart attack, but I can commit myself to be supportive of traveling with the group to sit down and talk with some of these agencies on behalf of the city. Yeah, don't be shocked, but I did say that, but.
I mean, you know, we've got a lighting, we've got a lighting thing hung up.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
We need to go talk to somebody.
Yeah. Because otherwise you think it's okay. Yeah.
That's it.
All right.
All right, item 10 is payment of the bills, which you have in front of you. Do I hear a motion to accept or amend the payment of the bills?
I move to accept the January 9th, 2018 bill list totaling $515,864.04.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 11 is Resolution 2018-01-08-03. This is with respect to the Boyle County Industrial Foundation easement release and relocation. Mr. Coffey?
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Unless you all have a question, the easement is identified on the very last sheet of their very last plat, and it is currently not in service in the area that they've identified to be removed. These easements are normally on a rear property line. Those can sometimes not be used. It does occur from time to time, particularly when a situation like this where a property is being expanded to the rear.
Okay.
And so it is just common sense to allow that easement to be released and then shifted to the rear of the property.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll move acceptance of Resolution 2018-01-08-03 as presented.
We have a motion from Commissioner Atkins and a second from Commissioner
Second.
Sears.
Yep.
Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Final item, unless there's something else, is Resolution 2018-01-08-04. This is the renovation bid award for the Lexington Avenue Park. Mr. Coffey.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. The city received 6 bids as shown. Jave LLC, is $219,900 was the low bidder for the work in front of the water plant to reconstruct the hardscape tied to the park. We will follow this up with two more advertisements. One will be for the actual playground equipment itself and installation of it, for example. The other will be for the rain garden splash pad area, which would be separate things that we would do outside of this basic hardscape work, and this contractor is not really suited for those type of installations.
Could you explain what he's going to do for the $200,000?
That would be the construction and the development of all the playground area, the hardscape, sidewalk plan, the grading, really the completion of the site and the area in which the playground equipment will be installed will be constructed under this contract. We will have a playground contractor go in and actually install the actual structure that's the playground equipment, and then the city staff will mulch that after that's done.
And you'll get these two, well, it's one project, but two parts of the project to work simultaneously so you won't be breaking stuff back up?
Yeah. Well, I'll be going at the same time.
And these other bids that you did receive, they did not include the equipment, the splash pad, and all that stuff either.
These bids that are contained, these 6 bids are all for the same scope of services, which is for the hardscape and grading and site work.
You say hardscape, is there additional parking as well?
No, not part of that design, no.
Okay. And then you said there'll be 2 more things coming our way.
Would be the
Playground
playground
equipment. And so, there's a splash pad and landscaping combined, or is that a third thing, landscaping?
No, it's generally speaking, we're gonna try to combine that into one because they're all down there in the same area. Some of the planting we'll do ourselves as time passes, but it's more of the splash pad and the area around the splash pad that has to be developed to support the runoff from the splash pad.
And we're financing this with some of the savings from the water treatment plant?
We'll talk to Michelle about that part.
We have these items budgeted in our budget this current year. We have it budgeted in 2 different places to go over 2 fiscal years maybe. If it doesn't, then we'll just, amend it in one if we get it all done. But we have this budgeted in our general fund to pay for part of the general fund, and then we also have it budgeted into our stormwater fund because it's going to be an educational park. And so therefore, we can use educational money to do that. The other thing is we did get a KU grant for part of it, correct, Earl?
Yes.
We did get a KU grant to pay for part of it.
All right.
Had a motion yet, right?
Yeah, no.
I'll move to accept resolution number 2018-010804.
Thank you, Commissioner Sears. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Terry. Discussion? Seeing none, Chair will call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Is there any further business,
Well,
gentlemen?
and Earl, this will be up and running late spring?
We're trying to have it completed before school's out, which the goal, weather permitting, would be the end of May.
Wow, okay. Great.
Michelle, glad to have you back.
Yes.
We've missed you. That corner's been too dark.
In spite of the lack of pizza in that corner, right?
Right.
Can I make a motion?
You certainly may.
Do we have an executive session? Oh.
You have a motion?
I wasn't gonna do it, no.
So what's your motion?
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yes, sir. I move to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion second. All in favor, say aye.
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 We are adjourned.
Give you all the courtesy
Thank you.
of an executive session.
Excellent.